Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, I hope all of you are fine and studying at home. You know very well that we are going through chapter number 5, which is about networks. Last day, we had gone through different options regarding network and the simplex, half duplex, and full duplex communication. So today we are going to continue the same. First, I would like to have a quick review from you what we studied yesterday. We had started a new topic, that is client server architecture. Client server architecture is basically an architecture of making a network. What happens in this architecture and what kind of architecture is this? I would like to have a quick review from you. I had given you the lesson video, not only the video but also the written material notes, and I had given you the assignment to note down all the things that we have studied for this chapter. So if you go to your classroom, you'll be able to see, and I had informed you that your regular classes are being uploaded in the form of videos. Not only the videos, but also the notes are also there with it. For 18th October, you will see that what we have studied on 18th of October, define network and then uses of networks. On 19th, on 20th, on 19th, we did not have the class. On 20th, we studied about the transmission modes, simplex, half duplex, and full duplex with examples. If you talk about yesterday, 21st of October, so you'll be able to see that we made a comparison chart for simplex, half duplex, and full duplex communication, full duplex, simplex, and half duplex transmission modes. We saw a video as well to understand the concept. And then we had defined the client server architecture and what is the purpose of the client in it and what is the purpose of the architecture in it. So these are the topics which are done, and I am giving you these topics in your Google Classroom. And what I am writing over here, you must know that what is written over here. Please note down all the classwork in your notebooks. This is very important thing. I am saying that go through the video if you want to have clarification of the topics that we have studied. And I am also asking you, please note down all the classwork date wise in your notebooks to prepare for the board exams. So what we have done, you can see at the title bar of my Google Chrome, we have done for 18th, 20th and 21st of October. And these are the three lessons that I have given you. The written material, the notes are given to you with examples so that you must be prepared well for that. Now I would like to have a quick review from you only about client server architecture. First, define the client server architecture, then define what is meant by client by giving examples, and then define what is meant by a server machine or a server by giving example. Please raise the hand. Okay, quickly. Any one of you? Any other student? All the students need to participate whenever any question is asked. The material is already given to you in your Google Classroom. You can't say you don't have the material. Even you can go there and you can read it, go through it, and then raise your hand and tell me the answer. Is this a big deal? Is this any big problem? No, this is a simple thing. If you don't remember right now, you can go there, you can click that note, read it, and just let me know what is the purpose of client server architecture. How will you define the client and server? These are the simple things. Okay, yes, please.
The client-server architecture is a computing networking model in which multiple components work in strictly defined roles to communicate. Uh, the
Okay.
server delivers the server delivers and manages most of the resources to be consumed by the client.
Okay. What is meant by server and what is server and what is client? Can you define it in some more detail?
The client is also known as a request, a service request, uh, and the server is known as the device or computer system that provides functionality for this devices of or other programs.
Okay. So client is a machine which is a service requester, and server is a machine, device, of course, a node, a computer system, which is a service provider. Okay. So basically these two types are there, and we had discussed that a client can be a thin client, thick client, hybrid, thick client, which is thin client, which is entirely dependent on the server, thick client, which has its own capacity of processing as well, doing things, hybrid, which is basically the combination. Similarly, in servers, we said that there is a print server, database server, file server, web server, and I had explained you these all examples, that how these are different from each other, the types of the servers. If your question comes, write down any four types of servers, any three types of servers for 3 marks in your short questions. What you are going to write? Please raise the hand. If you are asked, write down, list down, mention the name of the three servers. What you are going to write? Yes, kindly raise the hand. Any one of you, anyone. Doesn't matter your answer is completely right or not right, it does not matter. I have already explained you that every student should participate. At least you should raise the hand to say something, so that I can know that you know the topics that we have studied. And this thing is very important. This is a very important thing. Okay. Okay, fine. Anyway, so we had discussed about that a server is, and it is already written in front of you. It is not the case that this something is there which is not written in front of you. This is already displayed in front of you. If you can see over there on the page, the notes that I have given on lesson 21 October, that servers are basically a number of types are there. Print server, which gives you the service of printing, means that particular machine, that particular node, computer device, which has got printer connected with it, that is called a server machine. It is providing you the service of printing. If that particular computer is off, then the nodes which are there in the network, the users who are using those nodes, they will not be able to give the print. Why? Because that particular machine, that particular system with which the computer system is attached, the printer is attached, that particular computer system is off, so the users will not be able to give print. We will have to switch it on. Are you getting this point? Similarly, we said that application server, which provides you the services to use some application which is installed on a device, and the application is being accessed by the other users. Database server is basically the server with on which the database software, just like Oracle SQL server, is installed on. And the other users who are there in different offices, they're accessing that particular database server. What is meant by a web server? Web server, which provides you the services of the website, And on web server, the website is stored. Web pages are stored. And those web pages are accessed by what kind of users? By different kind of users according to their need. Let me show you one video over here and then we will move ahead.
A server. So that is the topic of this video. Now, a server is basically a dedicated computer that provides services on behalf of clients, such as ordinary desktop computers or workstations. So it's a centralized machine where multiple clients connect to either over the internet or in a local area network, and they connect to a server for a specific service. So for example, that service could be to retrieve a website, to access data or email, and so on. Now, a server could be dedicated to handle one of these services only.
Now, one more thing is discussed over here. We may have an email server. An email server is that particular server which is giving you the services of email. This is also called Exchange server. That particular server on which the setup of email is available and the user who are sending and receiving email is because of the services of the email server.
You would have one server dedicated for a website, one server for data storage, and a server for email. And this model is what larger organizations use. Or you can also set up a server to handle each of these services on the same machine, which is what typically happens in smaller organizations. So depending upon which setup is used, it all depends on the needs of an organization. Now, when people talk about a server,
so what is the case? You can make a single machine, a server for database, web, email, or print. But it happens in the smaller organization. In large organizations, there are different servers. Web server would be different, database server would be different. Similarly, the email server and the file server, they would be different. But in small organization, it is possible that one machine, one larger machine is there, and that particular machine is giving you those services.
Generally, they are referring to a powerful centralized computer that clients connect to over a network, and they would be correct on that. However, a server is not just a physical computer. A server is actually a role that a computer takes, because any ordinary desktop computer can be set up as a server, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a powerful computer. So for example, you can set up a network in your home where you can have an ordinary desktop computer serve as a file server. The computer would have those files in a shared folder, and then other computers can connect to it to access those files. Or you can also use a desktop computer to serve as a web server.
Now, important thing is that server is not only a machine, it is basically a role. What does it mean? Means that even one client computer is there. For example, one client computer is there in the network and we have attached printer with it. Now this client computer has become a server, a print server. Why? Because it is a client to take services from the other servers, but at the same time it is a server. Why? Because it is giving you the print services. So server is not only a machine, it is basically the role of the computer. When a client computer, even a client computer is giving a service to other computers, then it becomes a server. Just like I have given you the example of print server. Let's suppose my PC is there in the computer lab on which I am working, and if I attach printer with it and all the students are giving print through that, so at that particular time my PC becomes a print server. So it depends on the role of the printer, that particular device that is being used as client, but its behavior has changed to a server.
Where you would install the website data on that computer, and then the other computers can connect to it and retrieve the web page. However, desktop computers do have their limitations because they are not designed to handle a large workload, and they can't handle a lot of incoming connections from users. And this is not only because of their inferior hardware, but it's also because of software. because desktop operating systems are only able to handle a limited amount of concurrent connections. Now, servers need to be up and running 24/7 because they are vital to an organization. And if a server does go down, then that could jeopardize a business or an organization. So this is why servers need to be more reliable. They need to be built with robust hardware that's able to run nonstop with little to no downtime. So for example, a desktop would use a processor that's designed, obviously, for desktops, such as the Intel Core series processors. And a server would use a processor designed for servers, such as the Intel Xeon processor.
Now, two important things have come in front of you, as I have discussed. Number one thing is that the server machine will be switched on all the time. Why? Because different users are there who are using that particular machine. They are giving requests for different purpose. For example, if the database server is there, so clients are giving requests to the database to access different kind of data. So server machines should be switched on all the time. Let's suppose take an example of web server. We are accessing websites all the time. So Google server is on when we are giving request to open Google. Have you ever seen that Google server is off? No. So similarly, in your organization, if people are using computers and they are connected with the network and they are giving request to a web server, the local area web server or database server, so that particular server should be switched on. Otherwise, you will see that the server is down. Sometime it happens in the organization that in the local area network organization, the server is down and the link is down and you are not able to access that particular website. You are not able to access that particular database. So it is very important for an organization to keep the servers on because different users are there who are accessing the server. Second thing is that any desktop computer can be made as server, but normally the server machines are, as I explained, the server machines are higher level machines. So they will have more processing capacity. As you can see on your screen, Intel Xeon is basically a server processing processor and Core i7 is normally used in the desktop processors.
A server processor needs to be fast and have the ability to perform a lot of tasks simultaneously. Now, both of these processors are powerful, but there are some differences. So, for example, Xeon processors support a multi-processing environment. So they are designed to work with other processors, which means you can put 2 or more Xeon processors on a motherboard designed for servers, which is what a lot of servers need to handle a large workload. But desktop processors do not support this. They are only designed to work by themselves and not with other processors.
What does it show? That the processing capacity of a server machine is higher. You can see that there are number of slots which are increased. Multiple slots are available for processor. Now in this diagram, only 2 are there in the server, but sometimes there are multi-story servers even. Multi-story servers are there in the server machine's motherboard. So motherboard of the server is also changed because a server machine is an advanced machine having more capacity, more reliability and more processing speed. Even memory slots are more there available in that particular server machine. So these are the differences between the server and client machines.
And another difference is that Xeon processors support ECC RAM, which is error code correcting memory. And this type of memory is what's mainly used in servers. Now, servers need to be up and running at all times, and memory errors could bring down a server. And what ECC does is that it detects if the data was correctly processed by the RAM module, and it makes a correction if it needs to prevent memory errors. So using ECC memory in servers is just an extra precaution to guard against any errors to prevent a server from shutting down. And Intel Core processors do not support ECC RAM. However, AMD processors do support it.
So what happens that even the RAM is also changed in the server machines, ECC RAM, which is basically rectifying errors RAM. So that particular RAM is used in the server machines to facilitate the users, because there should not be any error when the users are accessing data. So these all are very important things that we need to understand about the server machines. Clients are normal desktop PCs, as we have discussed about it. Now come towards the significant things why we are creating server and client and server architecture. Why not we are leaving the standalone PC inside a room, inside an office? So there are basically some advantages. There are basically some reasons we are using client server mechanism, client server architecture. We need to understand these all things. Number one is a single server hosting all the required data in a single place facilitates easy protection of data and management of user authorization and authentication. Resources such as network segment, servers, and computers can be added to a client server network without any significant interruptions. First point is very important because we can make users, we can create users, we can give them authorization and authentication according to their designations, and we can provide them data access according to their need, and we can give them roles and responsibilities in the jobs that we are doing on our network. So these all things can be easily handled when we are using a client server mechanism, because in client server mechanism there are special softwares means, if you talk about the software, you will be able to know that there is client operating system which will be available on the client machines, installed on client machines only. And you will see that there is server operating system, which is a different operating system to give user rights and authorities to the two different types of users, that is installed on server machines. Okay, so this is why we have got this facility in client server architecture to manage all these things. Now, if we come to the next point, we will be able to see that what kind of other advantages are there. If you see over here, data can be accessed efficiently without requiring clients and the server to be in close proximity. Data will be shared quite conveniently, efficiently, and you don't need to have the server and client together or near to each other. No. If they are around distance, let's suppose the server machine is there on the 5th floor and one of the client is sitting on ground floor. So the client will be able to access the data quite easily. There won't be any problem. So this is one of the most important advantage while using the network, which is basically a client server network. Similarly, next point is that all nodes in the client server machine are independent, requesting data only from the server, which facilitate easy upgrades, replacement, and relocation of the nodes. For example, if the node, the computer system through which we are giving the request, if that particular node that we are using that is giving the request to the server machine, so it is very easy for them to take that service from the server machine, and even that machine is replaced or upgrades, so there won't be any problem if the machine is changed, machine is replaced or relocates, the nodes are changed or relocates. So all the things will be done quite easily. So even this happens in organizations, that the people who are there, they change their role and responsibility. Sometimes people leave the organization and new persons come inside the organization. So it is very easy to assign those responsibilities to a new employee. So there won't be any problem. Relocation will be quite easy. Data is transferred through client server protocols are platform agnostic. What does it mean? What is meant by platform agnostic? Platform agnostic means that they will not be dependent on the platform The platform normally refers to the environment that the machine is using. For example, there is a machine which is IBM machine or a Dell machine or a Mac computer. What kind of computer are there? So they will be able to even connect. There won't be any problem in the transformation of the data. So these all are basically the easiness which are available in client server architecture. In client server architecture, the server have the major role. Server has more rights as compared to clients. Clients are dependent on servers. Servers are not dependent on clients. Keep in mind this thing, that the clients are dependent on server machines. Servers are not dependent on clients. Clients give requests to the servers and server fulfills their request. Server manages the user rights, authentication, authorization, all these things, and this make our work easier. Resources such as network segments, servers, and computers can be added to a client server network without any significant interruption. If for example, if you are making a new reception desk in your office, so it will be very easy for you to make a new reception desk. Just connect it with the network, assign the user rights to that particular user who is using that particular node, that particular system, and that system will start working, and there won't be any problem. There won't be any disturbance for the rest of the network. So this is all about the client server architecture. Now, if we talk about the next one, which is called, some disadvantages also are also there. I think we should go through the disadvantages as well, because being student of computer science, we must know only the advantages are not there. Sometimes some disadvantages are also there. So we need to understand this thing. What are different kind of disadvantages? Definitely, when you are using some good technology, it contains some cost. So we are not going to say that this is a major disadvantage, but of course you need to have some technical expertise as well. Just like if you see over here, what are different advantages which are mentioned over here? Number one, if all the clients simultaneously request data from the server, it may get overloaded. Sometimes it happens, the server is not responding. Server is not responding. Why? Because a number of users are there who are giving requests. Sometime when board result is announced and hundreds or thousands of students are giving requests to a web server to show their result, when they enter their roll number on the website of the board, then it happens that the message comes to you that the server is not responding. Why? Because a number of users are there who are giving the request. So at that particular time, there may be some problem and the speed will be disturbed and there will be load over the server. Number two, if the server fails for any reason, if the server fails, if any problem is there in the windows of the server, if any virus comes in the server, of course none of the requests will be fulfilled from the clients. Why? Because server is halt, server has failed. When the server is not working, server has been switched off, server is hanged, server is having some virus, server is having some other disaster or any other problem, server windows is corrupt or something like that. So of course, whenever the users are giving requests, any request will not be fulfilled. The cost of setting and maintaining, of course, when you are getting some advantages, you need to pay the cost, because you need to have a proper full-time network administrator when you have got a client server architecture. Similarly, you need to have operating systems just like client operating system to install on the clients and the server operating system to install on the server machines. This thing is very important. I hope these disadvantages are also clear to all of you. Let me mark the attendance now. From Amira Tahir, then Sayyid Affan. Now, if we come towards the peer-to-peer, what does it mean? What is meant by peer-to-peer? Peer-to-peer is actually the opposite case of client server. In the client server architecture, there is a server and other are clients are taking services, servers are giving services. What would happen in the peer-to-peer? Can any student make some guess about it? Can any student say something about it? What is meant by peer in general English? What do you understand by the term peer? Can you describe this term? What is meant by peer? What does it mean? Yes, please. Raise the hand. What is meant by peer? No one. Peer means, basically, the peer means friend. Peer-to-peer network means friend network, friendly network. The network where all the users have got same right. No one is server in particular, and no one is client in particular. They are giving services to each other and they are taking services from each other, but they are behaving like friends. They don't have any boss or employee attitude, just like what happens in the client server. Client is giving request, server is fulfilling request. But over here, what is there? Peer-to-peer network, computers on the network are equal. This is very important. Equal rights, they have got equal rights with each workstation. Workstation means a single computer. A single computer which is there in the peer-to-peer network is called workstation. Okay. Providing access to resources and data. This is a simple type of network where computers are able to communicate with one another and share what is on or attached to their computers with other users. It is also one of the easiest type of architectures to create. If you have got less number of PCs, less, just like a small, very small organization is there, where we have got 5 to 10, 20 PC maximum 25. If you have got 5 to 10 PC in your organization is a small organization, you don't want to spend a lot to make a client server architecture. Just make a simple network. It will be called a peer-to-peer network. Attach printer with one computer. It will become just like, it will behave like a server. Okay. Make one computer system file server by installing one large hard drive in it. But keep in mind, you are not going to install what? You are not going to install server operating system on the server machines. You are not going to install server operating system on the server machines. You will only install client operating system on all the machines. You will only install the client operating system. What is the client operating system? Just like I give you example, the Windows 7 or 10, these are client operating system. But what is meant by server operating system? Just like you would have listened about Windows 2016 server. This is a server machine. Windows data center. This is a server machine. Server operating system. But what happens in the peer-to-peer network? There is no server operating system installed on any of the computer. All the computers will have only client operating system like Windows 7 or Windows 10. Are you getting this point? What is the difference? So that's why no user rights and authentication is basically required. No user rights are given. No user rights are given in such way which are given in the client server architecture. So that's why we are calling them peers. Why we are calling them peers? Because they all have the equal rights. They all have the equal rights. So that's why we are calling them, these are basically peers. Peers means these are like friends. But it has some disadvantages. Why? Because it is fruitful if you have got the number of PCs 5 to 10. Okay, fine, good. You can use peer-to-peer. But if you have more number of PCs, more number of nodes, then it will be very difficult for you to manage all the computers because there would be problems. If the number of PCs are high, then you need to make a client server architecture. What you need to make? You need to make a client server architecture, because the peer-to-peer architecture will be failed in that situation. But of course, there are some advantages by the peer-to-peer networks that we are going to study in the next class. So what we need to understand, the basic definition of the peer-to-peer. It is written on page number, I think this is page number, yeah, page number 144 in your book. In peer-to-peer networks, all computers have the same status. Every computer is capable of playing the role of client, server, or both. This is very important. Every computer is capable of playing the role of client, server, and both. As mentioned over here, that every computer is capable of playing the role of client, server, or both at the same time. This is very important thing. Second important thing, as I have told you, that it will not have any server operating system installed on any computer system. This is a very important thing. Okay. This is a simple type of operating system network. Yes, very simple. When you have got less number of PCs, so of course, it is a very simple operating system, very simple network system, which does not have any server operating system in it. So I hope all these things are no server operating system is installed on any computer machine, any node. Okay, to make it smaller, I have written on any node. No server operating system would be installed, as I have told you, just like Windows Data Center or Windows 2016 server or any server. These won't be installed. Why? Because there isn't any particular server. They all are peers. Peer means having equal rights. They all will have the equal rights. Fine. Up to here, if you have got any question, kindly ask me, because our class time is now about to over. So we need to conclude this topic. I hope you would have understand. I am regularly uploading the videos and the notes for you in your Google Drive. You need to write down all the things in your notebooks, because I am giving you the work. If you will not, so of course it is your fault. You need to do it. It is your responsibility to note down day-wise work in your notebooks. Note down day-wise work in your notebooks, and I am providing you in your Google Classroom regularly. You can see over here on 18th what I gave you, on 20th, on 21st, whatever we have done, this is already written. And today it is 22nd, so I will give you the work so that you can accomplish it and you can note down in your notebooks. We are also discussing parallelly, we are also discussing the nature of the short questions and the long questions which may be asked in your exams. Okay, thank you so much. All of you, thanks a lot.